Oh, Dad just text something here. Got it.
Yeah, you're giving me permission to record you, which is good. Hello, I have the lovely Liz with me today. Hi, Liz. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, gosh. Okay. I'm Liz Mistry. I write crime fiction. I write gritty thrillers or gritty police procedural books set in Bradford, which is in West Yorkshire. And I have two series. I have a series that I self-publish, which are the Gus McGuire series. And then I have another series, which are with HarperCollins HQ Digital, and that's the Nikki Perec series. And I think I have to date 11 books published over the two series, one sent to the publisher, and I'm writing another at the minute. I think, yeah. I think that sort of sums it up. And I'm an old woman.
No, you're not.
Well, I'm older than you.
Yeah, not by too much, actually. So.
Well, I think quite a lot, really. Yeah, but you're as old as you feel. That's my motto.
Yeah, mentally about 5 for me, and physically about 80. Gosh,
I don't know. Mentally, it varies day to day for me. Physically, it does as well.
Yeah, bad times. Did you always know that you wanted to write?
You know, I did always know that I wanted to write. From when I was a little girl, I used to read a lot. So, you know, that was one thing. I mean, I was from I was from a working class family. My dad was a butcher, my mum worked in the post office, so we didn't have an awful lot of money, but we did have a local library. And the one thing my mum and dad would spend money on they spent money on us for loads of things, but one of the best things that they spent money on for us was books. So I remember I always had, I remembered reading a lovely pictorial book of Heidi. You know, it was beautiful. She had lovely curly hair that was just like my sister's, because my sister had black curly hair. So that was the very first book I remember reading, I think. And then we always had all the famous five, all the Enid Blyton ones, and then Agatha Christie and everything later on. And I think my reading age was always a bit further on than my actual age. So when it came to like writing stories at school, at primary school, I remember writing pages and pages and pages using words I'd learned through Enid Blyton, reading Enid Blyton books like spiral staircases and about lighthouses and islands and things that I'd never really come across or registered, but in a book they became real and it became part of what I did. So I did that, and then I was the first in my family to go to uni, and I was really good at English, so I thought, oh, I'll do English. I actually wanted to do creative writing, but you didn't really do that in those days. And then I thought possibly journalism, but really my mum and dad said, no, you want to be a teacher, that's what you do, that's, you know. So I went to Stirling University, got a degree in English and history so that I could teach both, did a few education modules, realized that I didn't want to teach older kids because they were frightening and they were all taller than me. So I left there, and then I did a PGCE to teach primary, but I did it in Bradford, and that just changed my whole life, my whole perspective, from being in a sort of a village that was very monocultural, I suppose, and you know, and then going to a university that was still predominantly white. Yeah, there was overseas students, yeah, there was some Asian students, yeah, you know, I you know, there was a lot of gays and lesbians, you know, so it was quite a diverse student population. But then to move to Bradford, and it was diverse culturally, and just everything about it was, you know. And then I met my husband, of course, and that, so I stayed, but still I was teaching, I wasn't writing. I'd write the odd bit here and there, and you know, really wanted to, but just, and then my mental health took a bit of a nosedive, and I was quite ill for quite a long time, and at one point I was I almost got sectioned, and you know, but anyway, overcame that, gradually began to work on being aware of my mental health and trying to sort of work around it, and with the support of my family. You know, anyway, so my daughter was, it got to the time where my daughter was heading to uni, and we were taking her around different universities, and I went to Leeds Trinity with her. She was looking around it. She was doing forensic psychology, and there was a leaflet somewhere I picked up, and it said creative writing MA, and one of the lecturers was this guy called Martin Bedford, and he writes mainly young adult fiction, but I had read an adult book that he wrote called Houdini Girl, and I loved that book. I just absolutely loved it. So that connection made me think, I wonder if I could maybe do this. I wonder if I could do an MA. And my husband said, well, yeah, do it. And I'd started to write more, and I'd nearly finished a couple of books, you know, but never quite got over the finish line, you know. Yeah, I mean, loads of authors will tell you that they've got a drawer full of books that they've started and got halfway through or 3/4 way through, and you know. But I was going to what part of my regime was, you know, I would go to the pub and get myself no, I'd go to the I'd go to the pub and drink Diet Coke and write every afternoon. And sometimes I'd be there for 3 or 4 hours, but the pub, you know, it was still a local pub, nobody bothered, it was great. And then I thought, yeah, I could maybe do something with this. So I applied for the MA, and it just took off. The day that I went to start the MA, I was seeing a counsellor, and I remember saying to him a couple of weeks beforehand, I don't think I'll be able to do this because, you know, nobody will understand me because I'm Scottish, and people think I'm really thick. And I had all these negative, and he said, look, you know, don't go in with any of these preconceptions, try it, you know. And we worked on that. And when I got there was another Scottish woman, so I was like, yeah, I'm not the only Scot. So that was really good, and it was a small group, and it was really good. And by the end of that first year, I'd completed Unquiet Souls, which is the first in the Gus McGuire series, and I started to put it out. I didn't have an agent, so I thought, oh, I'll get myself an agent. And then I happened to see Bloodhound Books had were saying something about, you know, they were accepting submissions. I'd never heard of them. They were a new publishers, and I couldn't get myself an agent. Nobody wanted to know. So I went with Bloodhound, and it was just that was it then. And I had the next book, the first book I'd written for the course, and then the second book I wrote for my dissertation for my MA, and it just went on from there. So that was in 2016, I think, and it's just I've never stopped writing, and I can't. It really helps my mental health, and if I don't write for a period of time, I begin to feel down. I begin to feel that, I don't know, I think writing just gives me a chance to process what I'm feeling, even if it doesn't actually come out in the pages like that, but it gives me that break from whatever's going on in my mind that shouldn't be. So, yeah, sorry, I've rabbited on for ages, sorry.
Oh, that's fine. I get that as well. When your head is just whirring, then it must be nice to have something where it just shuts up for a while.
Yeah. The thing is, as well, what I find is, you know, because I was doing the MA and you had to do academic stuff, which I hadn't done since I was, you know, like for nearly 30 years, I hadn't done anything sort of academic. And then my dissertation, I'm sure it was typewritten or even handwritten when I was at university, you know, so having to sort of do it to do this academic stuff, but it actually worked well for me. Doing that sort of the academic stuff and the creative stuff together worked well. And that then I think is why I went on to do the PhD, because it sort of gels it for me. And doing the PhD made me realize a lot about why I do the writing that I do, why I develop the characters that I develop, why I touch on the topics that I touch on in my books. So yeah, it's that sort of synergy between the two that I really enjoy that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when I done my first year of a degree when I was 18, we had to hand physically write assignments and and I told my fellow students that and they just laughed at me. But honestly, we had to go to a tray and put them in. It
Yeah,
wasn't
we had
any.
a wooden box, I think, with an envelope slot, and you used to have to staple it together and put it in. Gosh.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I mean, my writing is appalling, absolutely appalling. And it's got progressively worse over the years. I'm in such a rush that I write and then the end of the word squiggles off. So when I go back to read it, I'm like, what did that? What was that? You know, and my husband can't read my shopping list. So, you know, so if I had had to handwrite it now, well, you know, I wouldn't have got through the first week, I don't think. I had to record my notes, voice, you know, like I had to record the sessions. I had to, because of my mental health, because I at that time I couldn't process things, I couldn't concentrate. So I used to, I had permission to record the lectures and things, so then I could go back and listen to them again and again and stop it and pause it and take notes, and then, you know, because I just couldn't do it any other way. And it turned out actually a lot of the other students benefited from that as well, because sometimes if they missed something, then they could go back and look at it. So that was quite good.
Yeah, we had someone that done that, but our lecturer said make sure these never get released, because some of the stuff we used to discuss was
then you forget that you're in a group, don't you? And if somebody's recording, you forget what you're, you know, you loosen up, you get so comfortable that and
because our lecturer was so cool, then we're like, you know, if you wanted to do this and you wanted to use this, and how would you go about it? And our lecturer's like, I'm not telling you how you could kill someone.
I was just going to say, were you asking about disposing of bodies? Because you know, that's what I would be if I did this, would that work?
Yeah.
Could you find me if I did this?
No, we were about the actual killing. Like, if you use this chemical, or if you've done this, or if you mix these two. And she was no fun. She's like, I'm not telling you.
What was it I watched the other day? What was I watching? It was with them. Oh, it was Ragdoll. I don't know if you saw it. I had it recorded. It was on, I think, before Christmas, and it was a serial killer series with, you know, 5 or 6 of them. But the serial killer went at one point, and he had this. It wasn't a fire, but it was like a metal container, and it had sort of steamy chemicals coming out of it. And he's putting in all this evidence, not body parts or anything, just like clothes and papers, and, you know, putting it all in there. And I'm thinking, oh, I wonder what that is. But they don't give you side little notes at the side. Oh, by the way, this is what you use if you want to do this at home, you know. That's my one criticism of that series. They didn't give me all the scientific details.
Yeah, I've got the book, actually, funnily enough, upstairs. Someone sent it to me for Christmas. I've got a signed copy of it, but I haven't read it yet. But yeah, it's on my TBR.
Ragdoll.
Well, yeah. Oh, by really? Daniel Cole, I think. Yeah.
Yes, it is, because it kept saying that at the beginning of each series. I've not read the book, but I think I might go back and read it now.
Yeah, see if the actual info is in there. If not, contact Daniel and say, you know, this chemical mixture, did you actually find out?
Yeah. Maybe he didn't even go into it in detail in the book. You don't know. That might have been a bit of creative license for I was going to say BBC, but I don't think it was BBC, whoever.
Yeah.
The reason that I watched it was because the guy, the lead detective, I can't even remember his name now, but I'd watched him in something called Indian Summer, a couple of 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. It was about Indian independence, and he was a completely different character in that. But then when I looked on his resume, it said he was in Betweeners as well. So it was like really, you know, but he was excellent in that. He wasn't the killer, he was the detective, but he was excellent. So yeah, I think I might go back and read that book now. That's another one to add to my to be read list.
Yeah, and completely unrelated to anything, but did you watch You Don't Know Me, or have you read it?
Oh, you know, I love Imran Mahmood. I love his books. I love the way he writes. It's that sort of, they're not proper sort of like courtroom books or anything. You know, do you know what I mean? They're more than that. He has a quirky outlook. The other one, what's the other one that I read more recently, the second in the series, about the homeless guy?
Something about what I saw, or
Yeah,
something.
I know
Isn't
what
it?
I saw.
I know what I saw. That's it. Yeah.
You know, it just really absolutely, it just draws you in. I thought they did well with the series after having read the book. I thought they did really well, and I thought the acting was spot on and the characterization and everything. I thought that's, sometimes it don't quite work, does it, if you've read the book first and then, yeah. But it's absolutely fantastic. What about Stay Close? Did you watch that one with
No,
Harlan Coben one?
Oh, that's on my list to catch up on. Yeah, I'd really want to watch that. I've heard it's good.
So yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. Some people didn't enjoy certain elements of it, but I won't talk about those because it would spoil it for you. But yeah, I enjoy his books, full stop. But I really enjoy his dramatizations. I think I've seen a few of them now. There's one called Safe and another one, 5 something or others, 5, can't remember, but they're always really, really good. Yeah, but I love he's got a character called Windsor Lock something or other, and he was a secondary character in a series that he did years and years ago about this guy called Myron Bolitar. I'm probably pronouncing that wrongly, but yeah. And he was a secondary character, but he's now recently, in the past couple of years, brought this Win character back as a main character. And I'm like, yay! Because it's so good, you know. So yeah, I think there's only been 2 of those books out so far. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one because they're so good. Yeah.
That's talking about characters. Let's go back to your books.
Oh, yeah. To talk about me. Yeah.
If you were to take out a character from any of your books for a meal,
kill them off?
No, if you were to meet them and then take them for a meal, who would you choose and what would you ask them?
Oh dear. If I was to take a character, I think I'd like to take Sajid from the Nikki Perek books. Nick is the main character and Sajid is her detective constable. She's a DS and he's a DC detective constable. But no, I'm not going to tell you that because that's in the next book that isn't out yet, so I won't tell you that. But yeah, Sajid, I'd love to take him out for a meal because I think he's really calm. He's a bit of a dandy. Is that dandy? I mean, you know, he's like dresses posh and he wears sort of designer clothes and things. He's from a Muslim background. He's from Dewsbury. He's a working class Muslim lad from Yorkshire. And he's also gay. And I can't remember if it was the first book or the second book, he was outed publicly in the news. And I think, yeah, I'd like to just sort of like talk to him about his experiences because, you know, he's like, you know, his community doesn't like him because he's a police officer. They don't particularly like him because or some of them don't like him because he's a police officer. Some of them don't like him because he's gay. And I just, yeah, I think he'd be really fascinating to spend time with. Otherwise would be Dr. Maguire, Gussie's dad, because he just, I think would probably just, well, I don't like whiskey, but if I did like whiskey, I could imagine just sitting and drinking whiskey with him for ages or going to a ceilidh with them. Because I think he likes his ceilidhs, he likes his dancing. So yeah, maybe him as well. He'd be laugh a minute and he'd give me all the inside dirt on Gus when he was a little boy. Because I'm still, you know, there's still things happening in Gus's backstory that I've not quite uncovered yet. So, you know, maybe Dr. Maguire would tell me a lot more about Gus and what he was like as a kid. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. If you were to fictionally kill someone, how would you do it?
So you don't mean in my books now, you're talking about a real person.
If you were to obviously hypothetically kill someone, how would you do it?
I'm a bit squeamish. I wouldn't be cutting them up. I wouldn't be, I wouldn't be doing that. That's too messy and horrible. No, I wouldn't be doing that. Although in my books, I'm quite happy to do that. I wouldn't know how to use a gun, so I wouldn't be shooting them. I don't know that there's a lot of machete attacks in Bradford, apparently. So maybe that's a possibility. Although again, it's bloody into poison seems a bit, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it. You know what I mean? So, and I don't know if I could suffocate. Not sure. Yeah, probably the machete. It would have to be somebody I really, really, maybe not so much that I really hated, but somebody that had done something so bad. Sometimes you read books, not the Dexter books, but other books. I read one and it was David Mark. Have you heard of, do you know David Mark?
Love David. Yeah, love David. It's a sweetie.
And I can't remember the title of this particular book, but one of his books, his main character, whose name is it Hector McAvoy?
Yeah.
Something like that. His main character, he fails to do something which results in a death. And I think, yeah, that was the way to do it. Do you know what I mean? And but it was of a character that needed to be disposed of. Do you know what I mean? So, oh gosh. So yeah, that I could see myself. Well, no, I couldn't actually see. I could never do that. But you know what I mean? Yeah, I enjoy it when authors do that sort of thing, because at the end of the day, the characters are only human, and sometimes if you're given a split-second choice of, okay, do I save this guy or do I not? You know what I mean? It's like, what would you do? What would the character do? So
yeah, indeed. There's a couple of books where I'd have loved to have seen the character come to a horrible end because they were so awful. And one of the most fun answers I had to that question was, yeah, just push them off a cliff. Just be walking along and
that
just
wasn't Malcolm Hollingdrake, was it? Because that's the sort of thing he would do.
No, I can't remember what
he short said. Story about that, I'm sure.
Yeah, because I asked him in an interview, and then he interviewed me and he asked me, and I said I'd stabbed them 100 times, and I think he was a bit surprised.
I'll tell you what, Tony's slow slicing, that was inspired. And then I noticed it was referenced in Parliament this week, wasn't it? By what was it? He said something about it was Ian Blackford mentioned something about Boris Johnson's demise by death by 100 cuts. And I thought, oh, Tony, your slow slicing has been mentioned. Perhaps now it's time to send a copy to Ian Blackford.
Yeah. Oh, by the way,
talking about slow slicing, talking about death by 100 cuts. I think it's actually death by 1,000 cuts, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's 1,000. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to do 100, I'm sure you could do 1,000. Just keep going.
Yeah. Must take a long time, that though.
Yeah. I mean, if you've done 100, then I suppose you're in for the long haul.
Yeah. If you've got the time and the space and whatever.
Yeah, I don't think Malcolm's quite recovered from me telling him that I'd stabbed someone that many times.
He's probably thinking, as long as it's not me.
He's too lovely. How could you? He's such a sweetheart.
I know. I've not seen him for so long. I mean, this is lockdown for you. I've not seen him for so long. Yeah,
I met him last year. It was so good. We cuddled in the middle of the road. Yeah.
I just didn't feel it was. Yeah, I wasn't in a good place anyway, but I just felt it was too soon for me to go last year.
Yeah, a lot of people did.
I've missed.
Well,
really? It was cancelled, obviously, but yeah.
It's the first one I'd ever been to. First book festival, full stop.
Really?
Loved it. Yeah, got home at 6 o'clock on the Sunday. By 9 o'clock, I booked my hotel for this year. I'm going back. I loved every second.
Yeah, yeah.
Malcolm,
Did you go to the talks as well?
I went to some of them, yeah. And Malcolm took me out for a meal on the Saturday, so that was nice as well with him and Debbie. To Greek.
I was going to say, was it the Greek one or was it the Italian one? There's a nice, mind you, some of these may not be there anymore with COVID. You know, some of them ones, because I've been to a few in with Malcolm actually in Harrogate. So, yeah. What have you been to any other festivals?
I went to Bloody Scotland.
Did you? I've been a couple of times there, but I didn't. Not this year or last year. Not last year or the year before.
Yeah, that was good as well. The first time I've been to Scotland as well, fell in love with Scotland, wanted to go straight back, loved, and I only went to Stirling, although, I went through other places on the train.
It's up in City of UK City of Culture is Stirling. Yeah. So is Bradford, I have to say. Bradford's up for UK City of Culture as well. They've put their bid in and hopefully one or other of those two will win.
Yeah, I don't think Luton's ever going to get that.
You have to, your council, whatever has to put a bid in and put a package together.
It was voted the third worst place to live in the UK, so I'm pretty sure it's not going to get it.
I don't know though, because I think the whole point, Hull got it a couple of years ago, and that was to help with regeneration and everything, and Hull is absolutely beautiful. That's where David Mark's books are set, and Nick Quantrill's as well. So it's absolutely beautiful. They've done loads with it because you get money and you get to regenerate. So you put your bid in to say what your city needs and what it could become, sort of thing. So yeah. So it doesn't have to be a really posh city, or it can be a struggling city that's trying to make its mark and improve itself. So yeah.
Yeah, it's all about football for us. We're getting a new football stadium and they're spending quite a lot of money on that. So hopefully when they get around to that, because our football stadium's been there, I think maybe since the late 1890s or something. Really? We've been there a long time, and houses have been built up around it. So you can genuinely look out of the stands and see into people's back gardens.
Yeah, I bet they're not so keen on that. Match days, they must get quite annoyed.
Yeah, it's little and it's old, and luckily we've progressed up the leagues. But if we went to the next step, which is the Premier League, we couldn't do it because we couldn't afford to make the changes to the stadium that they'd require for. I think we had to get advertising hoardings, electronic ones, to be in the Championship. So, yeah, I know. Oh, wow. So, yeah, as when they start building that would be nice, because they want to do, restaurants and shops and whatever.
Yeah, make it a sort of hub.
Yeah. So, that could be good. Yeah.
Everything costs so much money, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're crazy amounts when you see them out there talking. Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
And they're just estimates as well.
I know. Yeah.
Seem to have strayed from books again. I don't know how this keeps happening. I'm not sure whose fault it is. I don't know if that's yours.
It's not me. Yeah, I'm very focused.
I think we're both as bad as each other.
Yeah. I think you should forget that it's actually supposed to be like an interview, and you just end up making it a chat, and then other topics come into play. So yeah.
That's because I asked you how you'd kill someone, isn't it? And then we just went off on a tangent. Yeah.
Now, disposing of somebody, that's a different kettle of fish. I'd know how I'd do that. Pig farm. Every time, pig farm. That's my way of disposing of somebody.
Just make sure they've got no false limbs, no metal plates, and things like that. Just so that you don't.
You can't even be guaranteed that the pigs will eat everything.
No.
Anyway, and then presumably, I don't know, you'll know more about this, but presumably when the pigs poo, some things will come out without having been digested. No? I don't know.
I believe so, but if you're on the ball, then you should be able to counteract that with methods.
Yeah.
Well, apparently burying someone and then burying a dog on top of them is quite effective, or burying someone and then putting rare plants on top of them is also quite effective. But You know,
Does
obviously,
that sort of, like influence the cadaver dogs? Do they sort of get?
Because then they'd dig to a
confused?
certain point and then they'd find the dog and assume that the dog had just found,
Of course.
smelled the dog. So
Yeah.
then they wouldn't necessarily go back and try and find a body underneath that.
Oh, I might use that one, Tick.
If you were to team up your detectives either in either series with any other fictional detective, who would you team them up with, and what cold case would you like them to solve?
I wondered at one point about having Nikki and Gus sort of cross paths, because they're both in Bradford, so but I don't really think I could do that if I were a detective. Rebus would be quite interesting, I think. Or oh, you know what? I've just finished reading Andy Barrett's The Pain of Strangers. And I think, yeah, it might be quite nice to have Eddie Collins as the CSI with one of my detectives, because he's such a damn good character. Absolutely brilliant character, truly inspired. So I think that would be really good. Yeah, I could do that. Cold case. Oh, cold case. What case could they? Do you mean a real cold case? Oh, I don't know many cold cases. There's so many, rapes and things that improvements in technology are bringing to light these days. I think it would be a murder. In Last Request, the very first Nikki Perec book, that was a cold case. And that was a body that was buried under, you won't know Bradford, but Bradford's got this big old Odeon building that's it's being slowly done up and renovated, and hopefully that, if we get the bid for City of Culture, hopefully that'll be one of the things they do. But there's a car park next to it, and so the case sort of opens more or less with that character, with with somebody being buried, discovered under there. Yeah, and it's from like 20 years previously, or 18 years previously. So yeah, I enjoy the thought of writing about cold cases, but I don't feel confident enough with the technical stuff to do that. And I'd be quite scared of getting it wrong, because readers know so much more than I do, about things like that. So I'm always a little bit wary about, being too precise about things in case I trip myself up.
Yeah. Oh, yes. It's only because we read so much. We can't help it.
Yeah.
Yeah, most authors are pretty good. I don't pick up any forensic mistakes generally, but then there's so many people around to ask now. There shouldn't be anyway, should there? I don't think.
No. I was really surprised though. I was writing. It's a book I've just submitted to HQ. And I was writing about somebody. I was trying to work out how somebody could break into a car now, because of all the technical stuff. And I thought, oh, this is going to be like, so much harder to do. And yet all my research, they kept saying it's easier to do it now than it has ever been. And I was absolutely gobsmacked by that, because if I hadn't researched it, I would have just been writing, oh, and it's very, very difficult to do, blah, 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 and it so isn't. And I was like, gosh, although people have come to me, I did a post on Facebook on it, and people have been itemizing cars from the 70s and 80s and saying, well, this was really easy to get into, and this one was, and this one was, and I'm sure they were. But I suppose, for the criminal, rather, nowadays it's all technology based, isn't it? And having gadgets to do it. So yeah,
or just breaking into someone's house and stealing their keys. It's insane, isn't it? How just nothing's sacred anymore, nothing's safe.
No, and it's easy to get it. Well, there's gadgets to sort of like help you break into people's houses. Like, well, why would they have that? Why would you buy that? Why would you need to be buying that if you weren't going to commit a crime? Come on now.
Yep. I would assume this would be the dark web, and God knows what's on there.
Oh, you know, I haven't been on there. I write about it a lot, but I've never actually been on it. And so, you know, but some things are available just on the surface. Is it surface web you call it? Sometimes things on there, like this gadget to clone a car key, you can buy it on Amazon. You're like, come on, that can't be right. You know, but you can. So yeah.
The police should be tracing all those sales and keeping an eye on those people.
Yeah, you think so. Yeah. If they had enough officers and, you know.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think they investigate maybe 5% of cybercrime, and that's just the worst because they just can't physically investigate all of it because there's so much. It's not possible.
And that, I mean, I'd say that's on the surface web. When you get in the dark web, God knows what's going on down there.
Yeah.
Down there, as if it's down there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, what did I was reading the other day about the dark web? I think someone was too scared to go and have a look, but it's just a browser. And unless you know the URL of the site that you want to access, then you're not going to accidentally come across like to buy a gun or something.
But if you did, you could always report it and say, oh, look, I accidentally did this and this has come up now. You look here, follow this. You know. Yeah. I know some authors have gone on. Is it Tor you use? What's it? I don't know what the T stands
for. Browser.
Onion router.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I don't know what, I can't remember the T though.
No,
but and yeah, I think you can go on for legitimate purposes. I mean, you think you can buy Bitcoin and things on there, and that's not an illegal thing to do. And so I think
you can use it to go on M&S. You can use it to do your everyday stuff when they can't track you. So I suppose if you wanted to find...
When you said M&S, I actually transcribed, you know, and I thought you meant S. And I thought, Donna!
That says much more about you than it does about me. If that's where you are headed.
And then I realised my mistake, but at least I admitted what I initially thought. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, I definitely would be that.
Definitely got onto M&S and S&M on those things.
Yes, indeed. I imagine that's the more extreme end of S&M as well.
Yeah, or the more extreme end of M&S, for all we know. Maybe M&S has got an underworld site that, you know,
it's secret little bit we don't know.
Yeah.
That's why they're still going.
Yeah. Oh dear.
We'll get a call from the director of M&S now, like, we do not deal in S&M, actually.
Maybe they'll let us model some of their equipment. Not that I know what half of it was about, but never mind, yeah.
No, absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh, you know what I once did? Oh dear. I was at university and I was I was writing a book. I was in the postgrad research office. So I'm there and all the computers were sitting, there was a line of computers against a wall, which is where I was sat. And then there was some computers in a line behind me. And I was there and I Googled, I was writing. So it was for the purpose. And I thought, ball gags. Wonder what those are. I wonder what those look like. So I'm you know, wonder, you know, get an idea, you know, for descriptive. So I just Googled it and it came up and it's on the screen in the block behind me. What exactly are you researching right now? Oh dear, I think he was shocked. Especially a little old lady like me researching things like that. Oh, no, it wasn't, it was butt plugs. That's what it was, butt plugs. I was
That's so much worse.
Yeah, it was academic research because it was for the creative element of my PhD. It was for the book. Dear. Anyway, moving on.
What's your most overused word or phrase when you're editing?
Begins with an F and ends with an ing. Or just. I use that an awful lot. And then the thing is though, when you replace one word or phrase with another one, then you tend to start overusing that one as well. So, oh dear, it's a nightmare. But you don't realize I'm one of these, I get it written down and then I try to go back and weed that sort of stuff out, because it interferes with my flow. If I'm sorry, I think that's my Kindle, I'll just switch it off. Yeah, it interferes with my flow if I spend much time trying to like do it as I go along. What do you do? When you write, do you do that as well? Do you just get it down? Or
yeah, and then what do I knew what my word was and I've forgotten now. Really, I think I use really a lot. Yeah, they really, yeah.
But it's easy. I mean, it's because probably how you speak. So you just get it down and then it doesn't matter. You just get rid of it later. Change it.
Yeah.
You were to overuse. Yeah.
Yeah. Just is quite common though. And the effing is also common, or just, the shorter version.
Yeah. Yes.
And you talked about
variation of that.
Yeah. We talked about butt plugs and I'm sure
I
we can say
them
fuck.
A lot. I wouldn't say I overuse the words butt plug. Although I have used them in a novel.
I'm glad you said the words. Likewise.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Some interesting confessions coming.
All your interviews end up with this sort of level of.
No, funnily enough, occasional.
Oh dear, my eyes are running. Let me get a tissue. Oh dear. Can I just say to everybody that happens to watch this, I'm in the process of moving my office. That's why it's a mess, because I'm usually so neat and tidy. Okay, that's been said now. We can move on again.
If you're able to spend a day with any author, dead or alive, who would you like to spend a day with?
Oh gosh, loads of authors. Tony Forder, Andy Barrett, Anita Waller. I love Anita. Who else? Malcolm. Imran Mahmood. Abir Mukherjee, who is my cousin through marriage, I have to say.
Love Abir, he's great fun.
He's brilliant. He's married to my husband's cousin, second cousin probably. So yeah, so we were at a Bradford Literature Festival. He was on a panel there and I was in the audience with my husband, and he's on the panel and he's looking around and he suddenly goes, "Oh, there's my cousin over there. Hi, Liz." And everybody looks round and they're like, "You are? How could she be your cousin?" Who dead ones? Oh, Edgar Allan Poe would be a bit of a one, wouldn't he? To spend, he's a bit dark, isn't he? Stephen King. Oh, I'd love to spend time with Stephen King. Yeah. Oh gosh, there's too many. Who would you spend time with?
Stephen King, no question.
Yeah.
Tony's not getting away with meeting me. I will turn up on his doorstep if he doesn't let me meet him at some point.
This isn't why he's moving house, is it, Donna? To get away from you?
I hope not. I will stalk him to the ends of the earth. I will stalk him. Yeah. He knows this. I have told him. Yeah. Apparently his level is, as long as I don't end up standing over his bed watching him sleep, then anything else goes. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I don't know if I asked him or if he just told me. The random conversations you have with people.
Yeah. Although, I mean, if you're quick enough, he might not catch you. You can maybe nobble his knees or whatever it is Annie Wicks does, before he wakes up. You'd never catch him.
I have threatened this too. And Mark Tilbury. Mark Tilbury calls us his twisted Annies.
Oh, he does, doesn't he? I've seen that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So any Christmas cards, birthday cards, etc., all relate to misery somehow and threats of hobbling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The thing is, I actually know where he lives too, so it's not an empty threat. Essentially, I just turn up on his doorstep.
Have we still been recorded here, Donna? You know, shall I just tell them about this? By the way, Donna's up in her plans, finessing the last few elements to it.
These writers are so slow. Like, how long have we waited for another Bliss book? It's ridiculous. It's not good enough.
I know, it's terrible. We take so long to get anything done. Oh.
I know, all this faffing around moving, honestly, it's unacceptable.
It amused me because before I had been published, I remember asking an author, one of the big names, I won't say who, but asking this author at Harrogate actually, oh, when's your next book coming out? I can't wait to read it. They're like, oh, I only do one a year. And I'm like, oh. And I thought that was, at that time, you know, before I thought, oh, that's acceptable. Okay, fair enough. And now, you know, 2 or 3 a year, you know, because, you know, partly because I can't stop writing, you know, I wouldn't do it if I didn't want to, but, you know, it's like things have changed. There's a whole change in you know, how people write and how much they write and what they write, isn't there nowadays? I mean, even my publisher, they expect that I handed, so Blood Games was published on Tuesday, right? The 26th, whatever day that was. And on the 24th, a couple of days before that, I had to hand in the next one, which will be out in August. And then, or no, is it September maybe? And then in September, I have to hand in the next one. You know, so it's like, you know, even some of the bigger publishing houses are expecting a bit more of a turnover because they know fans wait for it. And if you leave it too long, it can, you know, COVID actually did for me because Blood Games came out, which is the 4th in the series. It came out almost a year after the 3rd one in the series. And that was because I wasn't very well and I had my PhD and I had a Gus book in between as well. So, but now that the PhD is out the way, I can just sort of crack on and just write when I want to and do what I want. Yeah.
See, this annoys me with Mike Craven because I say to him, you know, 1 a year is just not good enough. And he's like, it's not me, it's my publisher. And I'm like, but you've written the next 2, why can't we have them? It's like, no, you just have to be patient.
I think,
I'm not patient.
I think as well, it's like they in terms of, because he's one of the bigger names now, Mike's books go for a lot more expensive, even on Kindle. Because there's one I wanted to buy yesterday or the day before. I saw it advertised it was coming out and I was like, oh yes, because I follow that particular series. And it's a woman author now. I love her books, and I was just like really, really keen to. And I went on. It was something like $11.99 on Kindle, or $14.99 or something ridiculous. And I thought, I can't afford that. You know, I'll have to wait. You know, so it'll probably come down in price. That was the pre-order price. It may come down in price. I don't know, but yes, I think maybe the bigger publishers, if they're doing it so high, they can maybe afford to wait a bit long. I don't know why they do that.
Yeah, Mike just told me off and told me to be patient. All right.
I'm looking forward to that. It's The Botanist, isn't it? I don't know when it's due. When is it due out?
June.
Yeah,
because I interviewed him last year and he said I could interview him again. So, but the thing is, because he wrote.
I'm excited because I saw somebody written something about Dead Ground, and I didn't read it. It was just like they mentioned Mike, and I thought, oh great, maybe it's. And I went and I'd already read that one. I was like, oh.
I know, it's annoying, isn't it? And some people have got it already. So like really, really early advanced readers. I'm like, I'm not jealous, it's fine. Not at all. Nope. Definitely not.
Well, yeah, there's so many others to read though in the interim. So we'll just
yeah, my TBR just laughs at me. I'm like, nah, you're never gonna finish me. I'm like, I know. That's fine.
Well, I'm reading a John Barlow book at the minute, and it's set in Leeds. And it's really good. And then after that, I've got a Steve Kavanagh novella to read. And then after that, it's Russ Thomas's Nighthawking. And I read the first book in the series. So this is the second book in the series. I read the first book in the series last year. I did a panel, and I was leading the panel with him and Steve Mosby and Neil Pattison. for Hull Noir, I think it was. It was for Hull Noir. And I thought, oh, I can't wait to get my hands on the second in the series, because, you know, and I've let it go, you know, it's there on my Kindle, but you know, so I've upped it. Finish this one, read the novella, then that. So I'm set for the next 3 books. I've got my head's in gear. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I've got these. The Devil's Advocate's the only one I haven't read of his so far.
Is that the most recent one? Is that
yeah,
yes, I've read that one. Yeah.
Oh, I haven't read it because I've read all of his books as soon as they come out because they're awesome. And I thought 50-50 was just unbelievable. But I've just got too many to read. So
again, it's the characters, isn't it? The characters just, it's very different, The Devil's Advocate, I have to say. It's very, very, it's different from 50-50. In a good way, you know, and that it keeps it fresh when it's like that, doesn't it? So thoroughly enjoyed that book. Yeah, it was a good book.
Yeah, looking forward to reading it when I get time. I'm just cram it in.
What are you reading at the minute?
I actually have finished a book and I have nothing, but I've got to read a blog tour book for tomorrow, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I've got 4 days, I think, with no blog tours. So I've got 4 days where I can read what I want.
I've cut back on blog tours because I found that I was agreeing to do them because I used to run the crime, well, I still do run the Crime Warp, but I've moved onto my website because it's easier just to deal with the one place. I've got a section of my website, my author website is the Crime Warp, but I've cut back on them because I was just finding that I was committing, and then a book would come up that I really wanted to read, but because I'd committed to a blog tour, I had to do it. And then sometimes I was rushing it and perhaps maybe not savoring it as much. So I thought, no, I'm going to cut back on doing blog tours. Although Andy Barrett's book that I've just read, it is for his blog tour in February.
Yeah, I think I've agreed. I've agreed to read that, I think.
The Pain of Strangers, it's very good. Yeah, very good. I'd only read one other Eddie Collins book before that.
They're all my blog tours.
Oh, I can't actually see it very well. You just don't. That's better. Gosh, yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. So after February, I'm going to try and start agreeing to loads less because it's just not enjoying force. I mean, I've read some great books I wouldn't necessarily have picked up, but you know, at the same time, not always. Yeah,
and then I mean, I think there's only been once or twice when I've agreed to a blog tour, and then I've had to contact the organizer and say, look, I'm really sorry, this book isn't for me, and I don't. If I can't leave at least a 3-star review, I just won't do it. So I've had to a couple of times over like 10 years or whatever, I've had to say, look, I'm really sorry, but I have to withdraw from this because I just can't do it. If you want to give me content instead, I'll do that, but I can't review it, you know, because my reviews have to be honest. Yeah, you know, I have to feel that I'm saying what I really think about them. So yeah.
That's what I mean. I'm the same. I feel like I've got to have integrity as a reviewer. Otherwise, why would anyone bother caring about?
Yeah. I find that as well. It's you know, and sometimes it can be hard if you want to sort of give a slightly lower review for something if you personally know the person, but if you just sort of think it's, you know, sometimes it's not for you. It's just, you know, it's not that the book's a bad book or it's badly written or the characters are crap or anything. Sometimes it just doesn't gel with you as a person. And, you know, it's I woke up on the day that Blood Games was published, and the first review was there, and it was a 2-star review, and I was like, oh, what? Why would you at 6:30 in the bloody morning, why would you get up and post a 2-star review and the crack of dawn on a book? You know, if I was going to leave a 2-star review, I'd wait a few weeks, you know, but fortunately the 5s and 4s started to come in pretty soon after, but I was on the point of going back to bed and just burying my head under the duvet. But then, you know, I mean, you know, I don't, if people want to leave 1 and 2-star reviews, that's fine. It's, you know, everybody's entitled to their opinion. It's just, I thought, I didn't have to do it first thing in the morning on publication day. We are human after all. We're not bloody robots. Anyway, yeah.
Wow, that's why if I didn't think it was even 3-star, then I just wouldn't, because someone still took months, possibly years, to write that book and gave everything to it. So that's just soul destroying, and I couldn't do that to someone. So
I got an email. I've got an author email address, which I have to admit I don't actually look at it very often, because I've got my personal email address that, you know, people have. So anyway, I look at it every, you know, week or just a couple of weeks, you know, and I had got this email from a reader, and they'd gone to the trouble to find out my author email from my website or something, and they were complaining about my use of the word prone as opposed to supine. And I was like, that is one word out of, you know, 120,000 of them, and one word has caused us such a problem that that reader felt they had to go and seek me out to tell me about it. Strange, isn't it? I would never dream of doing that. If an author said to me, like, you know, if an author said to me, oh, can you read this and give me feedback on it, then I would do it. But I wouldn't just seek somebody, you know, read a book and think, oh, you know, sometimes you read a book and a word will grey, or you'll think, oh, that's confusing, or oh, that I didn't get the meaning in that sentence, but the overall book has been fine. So why would you do it? Somebody else sent me an email about using gotten. The gotten can be a sort of Scottish thing, as well as a sort of northern thing as well. And I know it causes a lot of hassle and things, but this person had emailed me and they said, I don't like the Americanism gotten. Please desist. And I'm like, desist. So I try not to use it anymore. But
I would use it more just to really.
No, I know that it does annoy some people, but it is actually a word that I use day to day. You know, so, and I know some northern writers do use some northern, you know, other, like people maybe from Newcastle or, you know, whatever, and they use, or Carlisle or wherever, and they use, you know, words that they would use, and other people who are perhaps not familiar with that dialect, or, you know, they think it's wrong, or they, you know, and I just think, well, I wouldn't really quibble about that so much. But then that's just me. I'm quite forgiving when I'm reading a book. If I'm enjoying the plot and the characters and the storyline, then I can be quite forgiving about things like that, that they don't irritate me.
Yeah, no, me either. I've learned some cool new words like mithering. I didn't know what on earth that was until I started reading.
Who's used that? Can you think? I would call it mithering.
Mithering, yeah. See,
but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's how it should. You know, that doesn't mean that that's how that author would pronounce it, because you know, everybody, you know, is that a Scottish word? Was that a Scottish author?
I think it was Yorkshire. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe Yorkshire. I use it sometimes, not very often, but I do use it sometimes. But it is something that I would have used when I was in Scotland more, probably.
It's not a word I'd ever heard up until my late 30s, and then now I'm like, yeah, that's a cool word. I like that.
Yeah,
it seems to say what it wanted to say in a cool.
And you know about the context of the sentence, you know, or the paragraph, what the author's trying to say. So you know. It's but people do get irritated by things, so you know, you have to try and sort of, you know.
Well, I can't think of any more questions for you. I think we've pretty much covered, you know, everything and anything.
We've been down to the dark web and we've been up in the giddy heights of body disposal. We've covered the lot.
Yeah, with a little bit of you know, sadomasochism in the middle, just to make sure that we kept the level.
I won't be, you know this, I will not be able to go into Marks and Spencer's or even go online to Marks and Spencer's without remembering this conversation.
Yes.
You've spoiled Marks and Spencer's for me for life, and I'm blaming you. Nothing to do with
I wasn't a fan anyway. I never went in there, but my nan goes in there all the time, and if she's going to talk about it, I'm going to start giggling, and then she's going to think I'm nuts.
Yeah. Hmm.
She
Yeah, I
knows
might
I'm
have
nuts
to
anyway.
share that with a couple of my friends. I've got a similar sense of humour to me. Ones that probably won't watch this interview, but would be interested to hear what we'd be discussing. Yeah. Do you tag your interview? Is it like a website? Do you do tags like M&S, S&M, butt plugs, body disposal? So people get
a few more people watching.
Yeah. We might end up in the dark web, but we don't know. Oh dear.
Oh my god.
Well, Donna, I have to say you've made my Friday.
Yeah, my god.
I've had such a lovely time.
Me too. I had such a horrendous 4 hours at work, so this has just made my day.
Oh. Well, let's hope you
Everyone.
can stay awake till your next interview.
Yeah. Well, I might nap. It's fine.
Yeah.
So
My
just
husband's going to
before
wonder
we-
why I'm being so giddy now.
Yeah.
What have you been doing? You've been on the Prosecco? No? Maybe. You're on the dark
Never you
web, darling.
mind.
Shall we go to M&S? Sorry.
Oh god. Yes. So would you just like to tell everyone where they can get your books from and where they can find out more about you?
Oh dear. Well, they could go to my website, which is not on the dark web, and it's lizmistry.com, which is quite simple. Get my books on Amazon. You can get all of my books on Amazon, and they're on Kindle. The Gus books and some of the Nikki books now are on Kindle Unlimited, as well as I don't know what you call the other thing, just to buy or paperback. You can get my Nikki Perrette books in Waterstones and various places as well. Yeah, so pretty much anywhere. Anywhere.
Fabulous. So thank you very much.
Sorry?
Thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much for having us. You're having me. Despite the suspect conversation sometimes, some way along the line. Okay.